Hi guys, is my voice audible?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Okay. Were you guys able to solve those questions which I had given earlier before the functions class? Whatever I had given, were you able to solve it?
That PDF.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What about others?
Yes,
Okay. You guys, if you have any doubt, please do let me know. Okay. Okay. So functions, is there any doubt in what we had done earlier, like whatever concepts we have completed earlier? Any doubt in that? Any doubt? Forgot everything? Hmm? Do you guys remember what we had done in earlier classes? Like in the previous class? 2 days back? Anyone? Hello?
Sorry, ma'am. What did you say? I got one call, so I was on call.
Okay. So what we had done in previous class?
Functions.
Okay. Any doubt in that? Hmm?
Can you give me a short recap of and I forward something like some
Okay.
topics? For-
Okay. First, let's recap. Okay. Let's have a small recap. After that,
Yes,
we'll
ma'am.
start with today's class. Okay. Fine. First thing is, how do we write a function in Python? I'll just go on giving you small examples so that you get to know whatever we had studied earlier. So first thing is, how do we write functions? Basically, to write functions in Python, you need a def keyword. Def is a keyword that you use and then the function name, isn't it? For example, your function name is calculator. Just write this as a function name and then you need open brackets, parenthesis, and then you write whatever. This is a function block now. Whatever you write over here will be a part of the function that you have written. Hello there. How are you all doing? For example, this is one of the function. Isn't now how do I call this function? Now this won't get executed on its own. Okay, it's not assigned. The memory is not assigned yet to this particular function that we have over here. Okay, as you can see for this particular function, no, not yet the memory is not yet allocated. Even if you save this particular file, this memory won't get allocated. Memory is only getting allocated for the functions when you call it. So how do you call it? You just write calculator and then give enter. See, when I call the function calling is nothing but just write the function name. That's it. So when you call the function, whatever is there in the function block will get executed. So what I had given was I had given just to print something. So that is what has happened over here. It has got printed. Okay, that's it. This was all about function calling and function definition. You use a def keyword always. And then after that, we had seen something called as concept of parameters and arguments. What are parameters and what are arguments? So basically, if you're writing something over here, for example, in the function definition, a comma b, if I write two variables over that, and then I want to print it also, right? So what will I do? I'll just print it over here. Print a plus b is something that I want to print. Okay, but we'll have to send the values to A and B, right? How do we send? While calling the function, right? I'll just send two values, 20 comma 10, 10 comma 20. So what happens when I call this function in this way? So basically what is happening is your 10 is going and getting stored in this one, A. Okay, A is getting replaced by 10. That is A in A storage location. 10 is going to get replaced, and then 20 is something that is going to be sent, and it's going to be stored in B. So we are getting an error over here. Calculator takes 0 positional arguments. Okay, we have not run this particular box. Let's run this first. And then let's run this. Okay, now when I run this, see. So whatever A and B had sent, it's getting added and it's getting printed also. So what has happened is, this is your, now what is parameter, what is argument? We have already studied it in the previous class. This would be your what? Parameters. Okay.
Parameter.
Yeah, this is your argument. So what are arguments? Basically, arguments are your true value or the value itself. Okay. Arguments are the real values. Arguments are nothing but the real values. 10 and 20 are real values, whereas A and B are not the true value. They're something that stores the true value, isn't it? So that is why these are known as parameters. Usually you'll be having parameters in function definition only. Whereas in function call, it's always your arguments that you give. After that, we are also seeing something called as return keyword, isn't it? Now, if I don't want to print all these things, right? If I don't want to print A plus B directly over here, I can also do this in Python. I can just write, not just in Python, in everything you have this. Okay. I'll just write return and A plus B something that I want to return. So when I give return, right? Return, it's returning A plus B. First, it will calculate what is A plus B, and then whatever the value is of A plus B, it's going to return it to this particular part. Okay, when it's returning, right, A plus B is going to come and sit over here. So you'll have to store it. Either you can directly print it in this way. Okay, either you can directly print it in this way. Now, when I do this, run this and then print it, see, 30 is getting printed. Else, I can also do this. I can give a variable called as add is a variable which is storing whatever this function is returning. After that, I'll just print add later on. Okay, print add. This also can be done. Okay, this is basically the use of return, is basically you're returning the value directly. After that, what did we see? After that, we had seen something called as, yeah, when your return is sending multiple values, for example, 10, comma 20, even this can be unpacked. How can you unpack it over here? In this add, right? You can unpack it. You can just add a star over here. When you add a star, add is going to take all the values, whatever your return is giving, no? Everything it's going to take and getting it stored there. Okay, this must be a tuple or a list. Okay, so let me send it in this way. Then let me run it. So that is when it's still giving an error. Wait. Okay. If I give it as 20, this is a tuple, but it's giving an error. So instead of this, you can also do this. You can use multiple variables, add, or you have three values that is getting written. So you can take three variables as well. Add A, comma B. If you take, it's just going to get stored in that. So when you print add, it's going to take the 20. If you print A, this is going to be a 10. And if you print B, you will be getting 30. Okay, so if I add a star here, will I get it or not? Yes, now it's getting printed. See, when I'm doing this, it's happening. Okay. When I gave just star and add, it was not able to take all these values and store it in star and add. Why? Because now if you print it, let me run this back again. It's giving an error. Star assignment target must be a list or tuple. So this, whatever it's returning, no, it must be a list or tuple. So what happens basically is, when you have this, right, when you do it in this way, so when Python sees there is a star variable, First one, it's going to assign directly. 20 is going to get assigned over here. And the rest of the variables that is happening, it's getting stored in the form of tuple only. Okay. It's going to get stored in the form of tuple only. That's the reason why we don't get any error. Okay. Then what did we see? Unpacking, we had seen start variable. We have already seen in earlier classes also. I've explained you there also, isn't it? So after that,
Nested function.
hmm?
Nested function.
Yeah, nested function. After that, we did nested function. So nested function is basically if you have two functions. For example, I have two function. Here I'll write it as something called as subtraction. Okay, so now what I want to do is here subtraction is something that I'll be doing. So nested function is basically you can call this particular function from this only. Okay, calculator is something that can be called within this, and you can send the variable values also 10 comma 13, anything you can send, and then you can run this. I'll remove this return. First, let me run this. See, what is basically happening in nested function is you have a function, within that function you have a function called statement. Okay, so in this function you are inside sub function, and inside this function you're calling another function. Okay, so that is what is nested function. This is your nested function code. So here what happens, once as soon as I print, I'll have to first call one of the function, that is sub. I'll be called. Now you can see that first whatever is there in the sub function is going to get printed. After that, whatever is done in calculator function is going to get printed. So that is going to get called. Okay. After this, we had seen something called as program and process. What is program and what is process is something we had seen. So program, process is nothing but for that program. So what is a program? A program is nothing but just code. It's just code plus its data, right? Program is nothing but it's just code plus data stored. Data stored on disk, isn't it? So code program is nothing but it's just code. Set of instructions that you have written is only called as program. After that, we have something called as process. Process is nothing but is a running instance. Is a running instance of code. This also we have seen in detail in the previous class. What is process and what is program? If you have any doubt, please do let me know. Okay. After that, what we studied was something which is very important, that is regarding your process memory layout. Okay, we had studied about process memory layout. Process memory layout. So in process memory layout, any .py file or .exe file, whatever it is, when you're running, right, a process memory is created, a layout in the memory is created for this particular file alone, right? Each process, this is a process .py file, whatever it contains, instructions, isn't it? That is nothing but the process, isn't it? That program, right? That is nothing but a program. When you run that program, that is when an process is going to get created, an instance is going to get created. We had seen that each program, when it's run, it's going to get assigned with process ID also, right? Each and every program is going to get assigned with process ID as well when it's executed. So when you execute a program.py file, a memory layout is created. And I had explained you regarding memory layout also. I hope you have taken screenshot of this. We had seen that all the environment variables will be coming over here. Then we have stack, isn't it? I can't go in depth again today, but if you have any doubt, I'll go in depth. Then we have heap. Then we had seen that we have data segment. In data segment also, we had seen this one division, right? One is
Global and
BSS.
static.
Yeah, right. For global variables. And then we had for static variables. That is also one. For static and global, we have division. So what is that division called as? BSS, and the other one is uh, initialized. One is BSS, another one is initialized. So in initialized, this part, right? Here you have all the globals with which are initialized. Global variables which are initialized with a value, those are stored in initialized part of the data segment area. And then we have something called as BSS. So in BSS, global variables are stored which are basically with which are not initialized. Basically, these are default to 0. Default value of all these would be 0. Whatever is stored in BSS, right? Its default world, it will be stored in its default form. For example, what is a default form of double? 0.0. Floats is 0.0. Then int is 0, isn't it? In this way, whatever the default value of the this one is, that is basically when you do not initialize anything. When you just write it in the code and do not initialize it, memory is created, but it's created using the default part, default type, I mean value. So these default values are going to these kind of variables, whatever are there, those are stored in BSS part of the data segment area. And then at last we had something called as code or text segment also, where your whatever you have written in your .py file, right? The instructions, for example, this is your set of instruction that is stored in this part of the memory at the end. And we also saw that your stack is basically something that grows downward and your heap is something that grows upward. And in stack, you have all the local variables, written statement, everything stored. And in heap, you have the dynamic memory allocation or dynamic variable stored over here. Isn't it? All these were things that we had studied in earlier class, that is in the previous class. Okay. Now today we will be understanding in depth about function call. So what happens when you call a function in the memory? Where is it going to get created? How is it going to get created? This is something which we will be covering today. And for that, to understand that, you must be knowing the process memory layout, which I just told you right now. You must be knowing your process memory layout. Okay, you must be knowing your process memory layout. So here, as I had told you, this is your command line arguments. After that, we have stack. When it comes to your function and local variables, right? Stack is something which is very important for us to understand. Heap and all those are not used much. Heap is used when dynamic memory allocation is done. Malloc and calloc you might have heard. If not, we'll see that later. Then we have the data segment, which is important once again because all your data, the variables, global and static variables are stored in data segment area itself. And then code segment is also very important because your entire code is stored here. Now, when you call a function, no, when you do the function calling statement, what happens in the memory is something that we need to understand. So for this particular process program, right, a process memory layout is created when I run it, isn't it? When you save your file in the system and then when you run it, a process memory layout is created with a process ID. Okay. So now when I call this function usually within the code, when I call a function, in the stack memory is used. In a stack, right? Whenever there is a function written or function call done, memory is going to get allocated to the function called as a stack frame is created. Okay. A stack frame is created. A frame is created within the stack part of the memory. In the stack memory, a frame is created, which is called a stack frame. Okay. Whenever you call a function, remember, whenever you call a function, when the function calling statement is written, a stack frame is created. Now, what and all will the frame contain? That is something which is very important. This stack frame will contain, I'll write it down over here in points. Okay. The stack frame will contain function arguments. First of all the function arguments it will contain. After that, it will contain all the local variables. Okay. We have not seen yet local variables. I'll make you understand it today. And then we have return addresses. Whatever return addresses are done or return statements are done, that is also stored. These are the three important things that will be present in the function and these are stored in the stack frame. Okay, whenever you do the function call, a stack frame is created which would be containing all the function arguments. What is function arguments? Now, for example, calculate a function. What are the arguments for this? 12 and 39. So 12 and 39, A and B will be stored in the stack frame itself. Local variables, for example, A and B are local, right? It's for this calculator function only. Is it written globally outside of the function? No. So A and B are local to this particular function. That is also stored in the stack frame itself. Written addresses, whatever the written statements that you write, or whatever written that you write within the function, right? Or if you're returning any addresses, that is also going to get stored in the stack frame itself that is created. So basically what happens when you do a function call, for example, see, first function that I've called is sub function. So in the stack frame, in this way, it's going to get created. Sub of 10 comma 20. First, this is going to get created. So now I'll enter sub function. Sub function, I'll see that print here subtraction is there. So it will print that. After that, it's calling another function. This function is not yet completed. Okay. First, it calls another function on top of this, right? It's going to call a function. What is that function? It's calculator over here. So calculator is going to get called. So it's going to get called as 12 comma 30, isn't it? So this is how it's going to get called. So calculator function will enter the calculator function now. So inside the calculator function, I'll see that there is a print statement. So it's going to print. After that, there is nothing to be printed. So obviously I can come out of this calculator function. When I come out, what is the next function call that I have? It's nothing but sub. So I'll once again enter the sub function and I'll see once after the calculator function is called, is there anything to be printed? It sees that there is nothing to be printed. Again, it will be removed from the stack. And then your stack is empty. This is how the stack frame is used as. Any doubt in this? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys?
No, ma'am.
Did you guys understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, this is how it's going to get created. Okay, a stack frame is used. In that stack frame, whatever calling is done, that is going to get stored and stacked in the stack frame. And as soon as it's done, it's going to come out of the stack frame. Okay. Now let us understand global and local variables. Why is it important? I'll let you know. So this one, I hope you have written it. Write it down. Now, when it comes to global and local variables, I'll just give you an example. Yeah. So basically, before understanding global and local variable, right, we'll have to understand something called as scope. What is meant by scope, first of all? Global and local variables, all these global and local word that comes as under scope topic itself. Okay, so first let us understand what is scope.
Ma'am, like, sorry to disturb you. Vishal sir told me that this program is in the two languages in Java and Python, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, that is why I had asked you guys, like, in which language you guys want. I'd spoken to you, right, Hema?
No. Yes, ma'am, but yesterday Vishal sir messaged me like this program is also is conducting in Java, like that, like sir is messaged me now.
Okay, when it comes to solving questions, no, I can teach you in Java. Whereas
Okay.
concepts, I'll have to go with Python only, right?
Okay,
Both the
okay, ma'am.
languages.
Ma'am, but the syntaxes, could you please explain me, like brief explanation in Java, ma'am?
Okay. Yeah. So now let's see. For now, I'll just explain you scope of variables because scope is something which comes in all the languages, right? So let me start with scope.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So scope. So what is meant by scope? Just remember, it is nothing but the region. It's a region, okay? So basically, scope is nothing but the region of a program where a variable can be used, or accessed. Okay, basically, scope is nothing but it's a region. It's a region of a program. So basically, as I told you, if you have a .py file, if you have written all these in a file, right? So if you have written all the code and you have saved in Java, how would it be saved? It would be saved as .java. So whatever you have written and you have saved, right? .py or .java. So the region of a program, that is nothing but the program. This is nothing but program, your program. So within the program, whatever is there, whatever is accessible within the program, right? That is known as scope. Okay, scope is nothing but whatever is accessible, whatever is accessible and can be used or accessed, that is only known as whatever variables are accessed or used within a particular block is called a scope. Okay, this is something which is very important. Now, there is another word which is called as visibility. Okay, what is this visibility? Visibility is whether a variable, can be seen at a particular point or not. At a particular point or not. Point in code or not. Okay. So basically visibility is nothing but within the code, right? For example, I've written def function. Okay. Or in Java, how do you write a function? Normal function you can write, and you can just write a function name and do it, isn't it? So whatever you write here, for example, you have written something called as a comma b. So this would be your local variable, which is accessible within this function. So what is its visibility? What is the visibility of a? Or if you don't have anything over here, if you have a is equal to 10 within the function, so what is its visibility? Is it visible outside the function? No, it's not. So its visibility is only within this code, block of code, right? That is what visibility is. Whether a variable can be seen at a particular part of code, right? Whether a variable can be seen at a particular point in code is known as visibility. So for example, a is written within the def function, so it is visible over here, right? It cannot be visible outside the function. That is what is visibility is. So visibility and scope is something which is very important. So when do you say a variable is visible? So now there is a relation between scope and visibility. Okay. Visibility and scope. What is the relation? We say a variable, if a variable is in its scope, if a variable is in its scope, right, then that means it's visible. If a variable is in a scope of something, for example, a block of statement you have written in Python, it's like this. In Java, it's your curly braces usually, right? In Python, it's your colon. So if you have written a block of statement, if you're trying to access a variable and if the variable is in that scope, then we call it as the variable is visible. Else we say that the variable is invisible, isn't it? If we try to access a variable which is out of the scope, we would start getting a name error in Python. And in Java also we get some error called as the variable is not defined error. Undefined variable error will be getting in Java, whereas in Python we'll be getting a name error. Okay, name error in Python. If the variable is not visible, is not in the scope, but still if you're trying to access it, you will be getting a name error. Okay, this is the error that we usually come across in Python. In Java, undefined error. Okay, now types of scope. When it comes to scope, right? Scope, there are types. What are those types? One is local, and the other one that we have is obviously global. Okay, local and global. So local variable are the variables which are present within a function only. For example, if you have a function, you have a is equal to 10 written, right? This is a local variable to the function this. So the visibility of a or the scope of a is within this function only. So if you have another function over here outside called as what? Calculator function itself, let me take. So this variable which is there, no, a, I can't access a and write a plus 10 is equal to B. What is A? It's not at all defined anywhere in def. So this will give you a name error because you have not defined it. You have not assigned any value directly. You're using the default value of A and then you're doing something which might give you an error because it's never defined within the calculator because scope of A is only within this function. It's local to the function. It's not globally available. Right? Those are known as local variables. Whereas global variable is something if outside of these two function, if you would have written x is equal to 10 and a is equal to 20, if you would have written, right, then this a would be accessible over here also, over here also. Okay, it would be accessible both the sides in both the functions. It would be accessible because it's globally written. When you write it globally, right, it will be accessible throughout the code. Even in function, when it comes to Java, right, if you write something int a is equal to 10 globally, it can be accessed from anywhere. It can be accessed from any function. If you have any function, you can access it from anywhere. A is equal to 20 or B is equal to A plus 20 also you can do, even in Java. No doubt in that. You guys might be knowing it already, right? So that is what is local variable and global variable is. Global is something which is accessible throughout. We'll look at the example for these, okay? So basically, global variables are something which is declared or initialized at the top level of the module. So any code that you have, any program file that you have, in the top itself, you will be having your global variable. Okay, now let's see some example and also understand concept called as shadowing. Shadowing is a concept that we need to understand. Okay. Let me get into my Jupyter. So now if I have, let me just remove all these. Let me not make it confusing for you guys. I'll just give a variable a is equal to 10 and then just print it. Okay, print a. I'll just give print a. And then I have another variable called as a function called as b. Here also what I'll be doing is I'll be just printing b. That's it. B I'll be printing and I'll be assigning b to be 20. Okay, now when I run this, I'll run this also. When I call the function sub, no. Okay. Okay, now when I call the sub function sub, see, B is getting printed. In the same way, if I call the function calculator, A is getting printed. Now, if I try to access A, see, A is over here in this function, right? So if I do this, what is going to happen now? When I call the function, it's going to give 40. Why? What the sub function has done now is, okay, let me run this also. What the sub function has done is, A, it's not taking, if it would have taken this A, right, it would have given us 30 as a value. Okay, let me just print A over here directly. Print A if I give, and then if I run this, I'll be getting it as 20. So A is storing some default value because I told you, right, whenever you create a variable in Python, what happens basically? So in your memory, when there is A, if I create an A, so if you have any value stored earlier, what is it going to happen? It's just going to point the same value. A was 10 over here. When you printed A, it's going to get printed. Here, some random value is getting assigned, okay? Some garbage value is getting assigned. Whatever A was having earlier, right? That is going to get assigned and that is going to get added over here. That is why you're getting it as 40 over here, not 10. So this is not accessible over here, okay? Because it's local. It's a local variable. It's local to this calculator function. Whereas this A, right? It is having some garbage value stored. That is the reason why this is happening. Okay, that is the reason why this is happening. Now let's understand global variable. Okay, if in the same way, if I had in this itself, in this code itself, if I had written a global variable is something which is outside of any function, right? It's not within the function, it's outside of any block or anything. It's in the program in the top. So A is equal to 10 if I give, and then run this, and then run this, and then run the sub function as well. Now I'm getting it as 30. What is happening now is, see, when I give print A, right? Subfunction when I run, print A is going to now print 10. Why? Because A is the global one that is getting used over here. This is accessible everywhere. Okay, even over here it's accessible, even over here it's accessible. This did not give any error. Why? Because we have already seen that in Python what happens. You can also do this. A is equal to 20 also you can do. It's not going to give you any error. A is equal to 20 also you can, sorry, in the next line only will do. A is equal to 20 also you can do. It's not going to give any error. In Java, it would have given error saying that you have already defined variable A, you are defining it again. When you write this in Java, you would have written int A is equal to 10. And once again, if you do int B, A is equal to 20, it would have given you error, right? Whereas in Python, this is the normal way. You don't write any data type and all. Normally, this is how you write. And if you give another variable A and assign it to something else, it's not going to give you an error at all. Okay, why? Because in Python, it checks each time you create here also, A was already there globally. Again, you have given A is equal to 10. What is going to happen is, it's not going to use this variable anymore, this global value anymore. It's going to give dominance to this itself. Okay, now if I change, now the values are same, 10 and 10. What if I change the values? For example, here in the local part, right? Here A is only, global A is only going to get used because there is no other local A over here. Directly global A is only going to get used. If I make it 30, right, and run this, and then I will call the calculator function also. Okay, let me call calculator function also. Let me not use now sub function. Okay, now what is going to happen? See, it's going to print 30. When I call calculator function, A is equal to 30 and print A. There was no conflict. Earlier A was 10, now A is 30. There is no conflict. Why? Because a new location or new variable is only created over here. A new bucket for this A is only created. So basically what has happened is, what this does is, it's first stores 13th memory location and then A is going to get assigned to that particular memory location. It's going to point to that particular memory location. That's no other difference. Okay, so dominance is given to the local variable only. Whatever locally you have done changes, that is what is going to get dominance. Okay, your global variable is then neglected. It's not going to get used over here. Once you write the same variable name and assign it to some other value, this is going to get used, whereas this is not used. Okay. Now let's understand shadowing concept. I've already taught you, but I've not explained it. Shadowing is basically if the local variable is having the same name. For example, this local variable is having the same name as global variable, right? But local variable is going to shadow the global variable, okay, inside its scope. So basically what is happening is, whenever you have in your local variable, whenever there is a variable with the same name as global variable, this is going to shadow this one. That is, this is going to get dominance, and whatever value you have stored, that will be used. That will be used. This is no more used. Okay, this is no more used. But if you want it to be used, right? If you want the global variable only to be used, let me show you. What if you as a coder want the global variable only to be used, not the local one? Then what will you do? Now, whenever you do this, right, a new memory location is used, and for that A is stored. What if you wish that this is the only memory, only once let A be stored? Okay, only once let A be there. A, let it be only for once. Let it not be for twice or thrice. As I told you, here what is happening is A was 10. Okay, 10 is there in a memory location. A was pointing to that. As soon as you entered your local variable, this one, scope, 20, A is pointing to this one now. So it's like you are wasting your memory location. For A itself, you are wasting your memory location. Instead, what you could have done is, here itself, you could have made it 20, right? So if you want that to happen, you can just do one thing. Just set this particular one to be global. So that is when a new variable or new memory location isn't used like this over here, what has happened? No, it's not going to happen. Your global A is only going to get updated as 30. Okay, global A is only going to get updated as 30. Global A is equal to invalid. Why is it happening? Because I have initialized it. Okay, so when I print A over here now, it's going to print 30. Now if I do any changes in A, right, A is equal to 20 if I do, and then if I run it, and then run it over here also, see, it's printing. I have called calculator function, it's going to print A is 20. Now let's do one thing. Outside of all these functions, no, let me print A only again. What is the value of A going to be? See, it's going to be 20. So even your global variable has changed. If I had not used this one, right? If I would have not used this one, what would have happened? Let's see. Let me just remove this entire function itself because it might be confusing for you guys. Now, if I would have not written any global or something like that, if I would have run it directly, now if I run calculator, see, this is 20 inside, but the global variable has not changed. Even though you have changed the local variable, basically it has created a new memory location and then done the changes. If in the same way, if I do this global, right, if I use the global keyword, global global A is equal to A is equal, you can't initialize at the same line, okay? You will have to initialize it in the next line. Global A, and then A is equal to 20 if you do, and then run this as well. You can see that both global and local are the same variables. Okay. Got it? Any doubts so far?
No, ma'am. But like in Java also, is it like global or reserved keyword?
Global is,
Reserve variable, like.
yeah, in Java, it's a different concept. It's complete different concept. Okay. In Java, you are not allowed to do this at all. Once you declare a global variable, you can do changes in it. Okay. It will happen directly. You need not use another keyword called as global or something like that. Okay. Whatever changes you do, it will be directly doing it in the global word or keyword only. And in Java,
Yes.
you cannot once again initialize over here int a is equal to 20. Once you have a already initialized outside or already declared outside, you cannot once again declare it over here with another variable value. It's going to give you an error because already once you have declared it, that means it's there. That memory is constant. Whatever changes you do, everything will be stored in that. Okay.
Uh, okay, ma'am. But like declaring in first, ma'am, at the top for Java, ma'am, like we will be declaring it as global same or like a normal int a is equals to 10.
Normal int a is equal to 10 only you can
That
be
will be a
using that.
global. Okay, that will be
Yeah,
a
that will
global.
be global itself. Here also
Okay.
you did the same thing. No, you have just
Yeah.
used, here why did I use global is to say my Python, I'm saying Python when it's running the code, I'm saying it that use the global one only. Don't create another bucket for A. Okay, use this memory only, this location only is something that I'm saying. In Java, it's happening by default, isn't it? You have never
Yes, ma'am.
global keyword and all those earlier,
Okay.
right?
In Python, it is it a reserved keyword like global?
Global is a keyword. It's reserved.
Mm.
Yeah. This
Okay.
has a special meaning. You
Yes.
cannot
Okay.
use it as a variable. Okay. So it's reserved only.
Okay.
Okay. Java. Yeah, I'll see what to do. Okay. Now is something which we will have to understand about default parameters and variable arguments. In Java also you have the concept of default parameters. Okay. Same thing in Java. How do you write a function? Hmm?
Void and like the name of the.
Yeah, you had to write return type and everything, isn't it?
Yes.
So for example, if you have a main method, how do you write that? You have lots of things to be written, public,
Public style.
static, void, and then you write the main, isn't it? So public is basically you're saying what is the accessibility of this function is. And then static is
Static.
something related to the whatever code you're writing within the this one function or within the block of main, whether it's static, whether it's something related to variables that you have in it. Okay, void is something which is which is related to the return type. And then main is the name of the function. This is how you write function in Python, isn't it? And main is something which is very important in Java because it's a starting point, right? And then whatever code is there, you'll just write it in the curly braces in Java. This is what is done in Java is. And in Java also you have default parameters. In Python also you have default parameters. I'll explain you first in Python what is a default parameter. So if you have def, in Python def hello is the name of the function. Default parameter means you have a parameter called a. Okay. If you do not give while calling the function, right? Okay, when you call a function hello, you'll have to send something to this, isn't it? Else it's going to give you an error. When you send this hello and when you call this hello, that is when a is going to get printed. But what if you miss it? Each time you may not remember, each time you may not be knowing what to send and what not, right? So that is when you give it as default. When there is a variable or a parameter which is required, necessary for a function, isn't it? That is when you make it default. That is, you will assign it yourself, default value. If the user has not given anything, if he has forgotten, so that your code, but still if you don't want your code to give rise an error, that is when you'll use default value. So that if user has not given any value, right? That is when I say Python, okay, user has not given any value. So you can go ahead with using AS20 only. Okay, that is what is default parameter is. Okay, for example, consider you have a def, function called as calculator. You have a function called as calculator. Okay, inside this calculator function, you want the user to be sending you A and B. Okay, you expect A and B, right? Because it's a calculator function. So you need the user, or it's a add function, for example. Okay, if it's an add function, you want the user to be sending two values. Only then you can send add, right? Only then you will be able to send or return A plus B. Else, it's not possible. If there is no values only, how will you send A plus B? Only then will you be able to print whatever the add function is going to give you. 10, 20 if I give, and then if I run this now, right, it's going to give me 30. But what if user doesn't know that add function needs two variables from my end? What if the user doesn't know and just sends one or doesn't send anything? That is when for safety, you just use default values. A is equal to 0, B is equal to 0, or A is equal to 10. If I don't give anything also, when I print this, right, it's going to give me an error saying that you have not, because it's expecting two parameters, arguments, but you're not sending anything. So that is when I'll just use default values, right? If the user has not sent anything, let me just make A and B as 0. Then let me run it. So now it's not going to give me an error because user has not sent anything, no problem. I've already made my function in such a way that it will handle this case also. Okay, this is what default parameters are. Okay. So now I can also do this. There are two variables. I can only give one. I can just give 20. Okay, 20 is going to get into A and then it's going to run. This is also allowed, no doubt. 20 plus 0. If you don't give B, if you just give 1, A is going to get stored as 20 and then B is going to be taken as 0 only. And if you give both, that is when both are used, 20 and 30. 0 is not used anymore. Whatever the user has given, that is taken into priority and 20 and 30 is used. Okay. This is how your default parameters or default arguments work is default parameter. Basically, it's called as default parameter only. This is how it works. Okay. And there is also one rule. Okay. When it comes to your default function, right? Default function with default parameters. No, you cannot do this. Once if you write a default parameter, you can't use a normal non-default parameter anymore. When you do this, right, it's going to give you an error. Why is this happening is because you can never, remember this, you can never use or write non-default parameters, non-default parameter to the right side of default parameter. Okay. You cannot use a non-default parameter. This is a non-default, this is a normal parameter without any default value assigned to it. So you cannot use non-default parameter to the right of default parameter. Remember this. This is something which is very important for us to be knowing. So that is why it's going to give an error. Why is it giving an error? Is because Python doesn't know. Okay, one is non-default, one is default. To which one should I assign this and which one should I not assign? It won't be knowing exactly. But you can do the opposite way. Okay, you can do this. You can write as much as default parameters as you want, and you can just to do this. This is allowed. This is allowed in Python, no doubt. Okay, see, this is allowed. Whereas the opposite way around, it's not allowed. You cannot use default parameter at the beginning and then a not default parameter, because Python won't be knowing whatever value you're going to send here, should I assign it to this one or not? It won't be knowing. It will be having a confusion then. So that is why this is allowed and the opposite way around, it's not allowed. Okay. So that is when you can say that this is right. Whereas if you write A is equal to 0 and B, just B, non-default parameter, that would have given you an error for sure. Any doubt in this? Default parameters? Any doubt?
No, ma'am, it's clarified.
Okay. What about others? Abhinandan, Hima, and Aditi?
It's clear, ma'am.
Okay. Abhinandan and Aditi?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay, this was all about default parameter. In Java also you have default parameter. Just go through it. I've forgotten all the rules, but I do remember that there are default parameters. So if you have and calculate a function, right? Here, when you write the function, you can also write default parameters over here. A is equal to 10. I remember that default parameters are there in function in Java also. So now you can use print A if you give, right? You will be system.out.println. It is over there. System.out.println or print whatever it is. Just give A plus B. You have B assigned. B is equal to 30. Now A can be used. If a user is not giving any value to A is going to be used as default value only. Whatever the default value is given, that will be used in this part. Okay. You can just go through it once, but default parameter concept is there in Java as well. Okay. It's not just with respect to Python. In Java also you have it. Now let's get into something which is specifically there for Python, that is variable arguments. Okay. Let's understand variable arguments, which is called as star args. And we also have kavargs or kvargs, however you pronounce it. Okay, one is this variable arguments and the other way is this. This is the other way. These are the two ways in which you give variable arguments, okay, in Python. So let's understand that in depth now with an example. So consider you have a function over here. Consider you have a function called as add itself. Add is your function and you do not know how many variables or parameters you need. So you will let the user decide how much ever he wants, how much ever values he wants, he can send it. That is when you write star n, you give nums as a variable name. Okay, now when I write, I can do this. I can just do this. Sum is a built-in function, okay, in Python. Sum of nums, we'll be understanding what is sum when we are learning arrays in Python. Okay, arrays and list and tuples in Python, we'll be going through what is a sum inbuilt function as well. So it's a built-in function in Python. So when you do this, right, let me just call in add function and let me send as many as variables, I mean values I need. You can send as much as you want. Okay, how much ever you want, you can send, and then it's going to just print. Let me just print it over here. Now when I call this, see, it's going to get printed. Whatever the value you had sent, right, everything is going to get added and it's going to get printed. Sum is a function, built-in function. Else you can use for loop also. Whatever the value is there in sum. So now when you want to see the type of this nums, right? When you do nums, type of nums, it's going to be a tuple. Okay, so let's print this. See, it's a tuple. So whatever value you're sending, it's going to get stored in the nums variable, which is basically, okay, this is single star. Okay, sorry, I missed it. It's a single star one. Okay, this does not have a double star. It's a single star. Just variable argument it is. This is something keyword argument. It's full form of this is keyword arguments. That is where you use double star. Okay, that is where you use double star. So here it is variable arguments only. Okay, so that is when you use star. So how can I access alone single terms? If you want to alone access, for example, what is the first value that the user has given, you can just do this. Nums of 0, like in your arrays in Java, right? In the same way here also it works. Nums of 0, if you give, this is the index. So whatever the first value is, that is going to get printed. And if you want the last one, -1 also you can give. Okay, -1 also you can give. When you give -1 in Python, it's going to give you the last value. -1 from the end, it's going to consider. Okay, which is not allowed in Java. In Java, negative indexing is not allowed. In Python, negative indexing is also allowed. We'll once again learn this in depth when it comes to lists and tuples. Okay, don't worry about it now. Just understand what is a star argument. Okay, what is this variable number of arguments? So how do you use it? That is something that you need to understand. Okay, this was all about variable arguments. Then we have variable keyword arguments also. Keyword arguments is something where you will be sending key and value form. For example, in the same way, if I would have just written star nums, okay, and then while calling it, I don't use the normal values. I use it in this way. There is a name, there is a key, and there is a value for this. There is a value for this. Age, I can give any age. Okay, there is a value for this. So this is how you are sending it. So if you're sending it in key and value, right? Key and sorry, this is not allowed now. Printing it in this way is not allowed. So that is why I'll remove this for now. I'll just print the type of this. What is the type of this? I can print it. Nums if I print, I'll be getting to know what is the type. Okay. So now if I do this, right? See, it is going to give you as dictionary. So basically in Python, this type of these type of values, no, this is called as dictionary, okay, where you'll be having a key and you'll be having a value. So this is what is called as dictionaries. So this is variable arguments only. You can see this is one argument. Okay, this is one argument. So key value is one entire argument. So you have sent two arguments at once only, variable arguments. Okay, but why double star? It's because it's a keyword argument. There is a key and there is a value for this, associated value for this. So that is the reason why it's known as kvarks or kavarks. However you want, you can pronounce it. It's written in this way. Okay, this is what it is. So multiple keyword arguments you're sending it. So if you want to access it or if you want to print alone, right, you can do this. You can't use indexing over here. Indexing concept is not allowed in dictionary, whereas you can do this. If you want to print what is a name, you can do this easily. Okay, just give a double quote, that's it. And then print it. This is allowed. Sorry. Yeah. Again, now when you print it, right? See, Pratiksha is going to get printed. Because it's the using key you are accessing. Don't worry, once again, dictionary we will be studying after list and tuples. So don't worry about dictionary now. Just understand what is this kavarks, okay? KWARGS. What is it? Is something that you need to understand. Is this clear so far? Any doubt? I know you guys will be having doubts in this part and in the variable argument part, but don't worry about list, tuples, and dictionary now. We will be understanding in depth about it later. And in Java, you do not have anything like this. Okay, so need not worry about Java now. Just in Python, you have this. Okay. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Others?
No, ma'am.
Aditi,
No, ma'am.
did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Abhinandan, did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this was all about variable arguments. How will you send variable arguments? I just wanted to show you that because it's very useful. Okay. It's useful when you want to write a function, but you do not know how many variables or how many arguments the user will be sending to you. That is when these will be useful. You have a add function, but you do not know. You can do addition for anything, right? How much of a variables it is. You can do it for that. But if you do not know how much exactly the user is going to send, you cannot keep on creating add with one variable, add with two parameters, add with three parameters. Instead, you will create a variable argument or variable parameter function using which user can send as much as he want. He can send 0 also, he can send one argument also, he can send two argument also. In one function only, you are covering everything. That is a concept over here. Next, we have something called as built-in function. I need not say what is built-in function because you already know in Java also you might be knowing. All your print functions so far, whatever we were using, right? This is your built-in function because we have not defined it anywhere. We did not use this def print and we did not write what it should do inside, right? It was already given to us by Python libraries only. Whatever the libraries we have, it's given by to us. So we could directly call it, right? Function call could be done directly. And not just that, we also have something called square root also. Square root also we have seen. And then power function also we have. Even this is built in. And then we have input function also. Input, when we take input from the user, even that is a function. That's also a built-in function only. Then we had max function. Then we have sum function, which we have already seen over here, where you were doing sum of the numbers, right? Sum is also a function, built-in function. Max is also a built-in function. Then round is also a built-in function. Okay, floor is also a built-in function. Main is also a built-in function. You have something called as main in Python also. I'll be teaching you that later. Okay, all these are your built-in functions that you have in Python. In Python, like in any other programming languages, we do not have main, okay? In Python, we don't have any main. But we can make a function, any function to be the main starting point. Okay, in Java, you know that main is a starting point, right? Wherever in whichever file main is that file is going to get executed in the beginning, or that file is something that is going to get started. In Python, when you don't have main, it's confusing, right? Where to start or which file to start executing. That is when you can make any random function to be a main function. Okay, any random function to be a main function, you can make it. I'll explain this to you in later classes in tomorrow's class. See, today we have finished everything about functions. Okay, tomorrow we'll be able to solve questions related to function. So tomorrow, a small concept, that is how can you make any functions to be main. I'll be teaching you that. It will only take about 2 or 3 minutes to understand that. After that, tomorrow's class will conduct coding. Okay, we'll do coding questions tomorrow, which is related to whatever so far we have done, so far concepts, whatever we have covered. Only using that, we'll be solving questions. We'll be solving lead code questions as well. We'll be solving questions related to functions. Okay, this week we'll finish off with function. From next week, we can start with arrays, lists, tuples. Almost Python is going to come to an end. Once you get to know what are arrays, what are lists, what are tuples in Python, right? It is like you have almost covered most of the parts. You will be able to solve a lot of questions using Python. Okay, any doubts so far?
No, ma'am.
Others, any doubt?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Are the concepts clear? So far, whatever was done, is it clear? It's not clear.
Yes, ma'am, they're clear.
Okay. Others? Was it clear or was it not clear? Just let me know frankly. Be frank, no problem. There is nothing that you'll also lose. There is nothing that I'll also lose. You'll just have to be frank. Just be frank. Is it clear or not? Whatever so far was done, was it clear or not?
Yes, ma'am, it is clear, but like some part I have doubt in some.
Which is that?
Between you use this some syntax of Java, na, there I got confused.
Java, you got confused, isn't?
Yes, ma'am, like
Hmm? Don't worry. Don't concentrate on Java. Okay. Whenever I give Java syntaxes or something like that, you need not concentrate on Java. If you're focusing on Python itself, if you want to learn Python itself, go with Python only. You need not worry about Java. Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Mm. The thing is, don't miss classes in between. Okay. If you miss classes, no, whatever in previous class I've done, I'll be continuing with the same thing. I'll be thinking you guys know it already because I've taught you. When you miss the classes, right, you won't be able to relate it. That is when you start feeling like Python is not, it's not good. If you have a continuation, if you revise it every day, if you do it every day, you won't be able to face any problem. You'll not be facing any problem at all because Python is easiest one. Compared to your Java, Python is the easiest one. In Java, there are lots of things that you need to be knowing. In Python, it's very simple. You need not worry about. In Java, yeah, you need not worry about indentation. In Python, the only problem is indentation. You'll have to be careful with that. Python is like you can write anything and make anything possible. In Java, it's not the case. Java is restricted one. In Python, you're free to use anything, do anything, write the code as short as possible and run it. Don't get confused when I write Java code. You need not worry about that because Java is something that you guys are not focusing on, right?
Yes.
Any other doubt when I was teaching Python?
No, ma'am.
What about others? If you want me to teach any concept, no. Again, just do one thing from today onwards, whatever you want me to teach, right? Just put a message in WhatsApp group that we have. PSCT, the group which is there, no, just put a message in that. Ma'am, can you please teach us this concept? Whenever there is extra time available, no, I'll just take up those concepts, whatever you are sending it in group, and I'll be teaching you that on those days. Okay, so we can do that. If you want me to teach any concept again, or if you're learning something else and if you're not able to understand something, just let me know in the group. Ma'am, please teach this concept today or in tomorrow's class. I'll do it whenever we are free. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.